Yomi 2 is a tabletop game inspired by fighting games, so you might think that it only has a 1 versus 1 competitive mode, but it actually comes with a single player and a 2-player cooperative mode. The Road to Morningstar Yomi 2 product comes with 10 playable characters and also 5 unique automated opponents, and each one of those has a difficulty rating from 1 to 5. So there's a progression where you can fight a harder and harder opponent. And also each one has its own gimmicks and a different fighting game archetype, like one is a grappler, another is a rushdown character, and so on. The Shadows Over Flagstone set has a different 10 playable characters and also a different 5 set of automated opponents. Let's look at how they work, and you can see what kind of experience the solo and co-op mode is. Before I get into how the solo and co-op modes work in Yomi 2, I'd like to address the question of whether they're worth playing at all. The issue is that, well, the game is called Yomi, and that has to do with reading the opponent or picking up on their tendencies. And if it's an automated opponent, then aren't you losing that part of the game? Well, sort of, but I'll say that if you're thinking that, this solo and co-op mode works a lot better than you probably expect. And one reason is that although it is a factor to pick up on the tendencies of the opponent in the competitive game, that's only one aspect. There's really way more to Yomi than just that, to the Yomi card game, that is. There's a lot of strategy stuff you have to learn about how to control your character, how to play it well. Which combos should you do when? How do you build up your resources? When is it smart to build them up? When is it smart to spend them? When is it smart to try to drain the opponent of their resources? And how much should you really be doing one kind of move versus another at several different points in the game, depending on the game state? All of these factors don't really have anything to do with reading the mind of an opponent, but there's something you have to do to optimize and play well. And all of that still applies to the solo and co-op mode. So I think it's interesting as a training tool for the 1 versus 1 game, but it's also interesting and kind of fun in its own right to try to defeat each little gimmick of the automated opponents. One more note about Yomi, and I mean the lowercase y version in the solo and co-op modes, so picking up on the tendencies of the opponents, that aspect actually does exist in these modes. What is the point of picking up on the tendencies of opponents in general in a game? When the answer is the point is so you adjust your own gameplay so that you can take advantage of what they're doing, so you can exploit what they're doing the hardest. And these bots do have tendencies. They might play one type of move more than another, or they might have a huge payoff for one thing relative to another. And that changes over the course of a game, even against the same bot. So you really do have to adjust your play to take advantage of the tendencies, even of these automated opponents. Okay, so here's how they work. Each bot has its own sheet, which has a whole bunch of data about how it's going to play. Each combat, you're going to play your opener card as usual. Then after you've committed to that, you will roll an 8-sided die to see which move the bot will do. But as you can see on the bot's reference sheet, it has a lot more than just 8 things it can do. It has several rows, and which row it's going to roll in depends on its hand size. The good news here is you don't have to deal with an actual physical deck that the automated opponent is using, and you don't have to fumble around with its hand cards either. That's abstracted and just kept track of in the column on the left. It starts with a virtual hand size of 9, and then as it plays, that could be adjusted up or down, so you'll move the marker whenever that happens. This mode gets a lot of mileage out of that mechanic. What it means is when the bot's hand size is low, it's going to favor options that are going to help it build up its hand size. And when its hand size is very high, it has very good damaging combos that it can do. But when it does those, it's going to go down in hand size, maybe to a medium amount. So when you play against these bots, you have to be really conscious of what their hand size is, just like you have to do against a real human opponent. At low hand size, you can try to keep it low and prevent it from building up. At high hand size, you have to play conservatively and really respect the high damage options that might be thrown at you. There's also a row that the bot uses only when it's knocked down. When it's knocked down, the incentives and payoffs and what beats what is so different than the rest of the game that it really needs this in order to still play reasonably. Some of the harder bots even have another row that they use when you are knocked down because they are trying to capitalize on all the advantages that they get in that case. Let's zoom into one of these squares and look at the symbols on it to see how to read what the bot does. The upper left shows the move that the bot is doing. In this case, it is a B attack, a normal attack. The arrow after that, it shows what it's going to combo into if it hits with that B attack. You don't need to care about those specifics. It's just for your own information that that's what the bot is doing if it performs a combo. The number in the stopwatch in the upper right is the speed of the move. The big number in the middle is the total damage for the entire combo that the bot is trying to do if it rolls this. That downward swoosh that's just to the left of that big number means that it's a low hitting attack. So it would hit you if you try to do a high block. You've got a low block this one. The negative number that's to the right of the big combo damage is the hand size adjustment that the bot will have if it performs this combo. In this example, the bot's hand size goes down 2 cards. And you might wonder, well, why doesn't it go down 3 cards? Because in the upper left, it says that the combo it's performing is BCD, which is 3 cards. The answer is that on average, players draw 1 card per turn in Yomi 2, and the bot is spending 3 cards here. So that total would come out to -2 cards. So rather than have this card subtract 3, and then you, the human player, having to remember to add 1 each turn, it's all just baked in. So it happens automatically. All you've got to do is subtract 2 from the hand size, and you don't have to worry about adding 1 every turn. The number in the lower left, you don't use that often. What it means is it's the damage of the first hit of the combo only. The reason that's relevant is that there are some moves in the game that prevent a combo, like they just allow the first hit and nothing further. So if one of those effects is happening, then this is how much damage the bot would do. The bot's special abilities make them a lot more interesting and have more personality than just a spreadsheet of numbers. For example, when the glass monk is low on life, he starts doing desperation supers. And he also has a disadvantage called mental break, where he basically plays on tilt if you beat him too many times in a row. The fox primus has a similar drawback, but she doesn't get quite as much disadvantage when she's on tilt. And she has the advantage that when her hand size would go below 5 cards, she draws a bunch of cards. The colossus is extra good at throwing, and he also has several armored moves. The Twilight Baron is extra good at winning combat in general, and when he has a low hand size, he does a bunch of bonus damage. And the Dragonborn Centurion is also good at winning combat in general, and when he gets on a roll, he transforms into dragon form and has a lot more powerful moves. That's just a sample of a few of these bots, so you can see that they get more powerful as we progress, and they also each play totally differently than the others. When you play against these automated opponents, I think there's 2 ways you can go with how you want to handle it. I don't think either of these is the only right way, so just go with whichever is more fun for you. But one way you can handle it is to intentionally not really scrutinize exactly what the bot can do at any moment. You do have all the data in front of you, but when you're choosing your own move of what to do in combat, you don't have to look at every single piece of data, every box, and compute the probabilities of exactly what the bot's going to do. You don't have to pay attention to exactly how many blocks it has in a given row, and of those blocks, how many of them are low blocks specifically. So if you choose to play this mode where you intentionally don't look that closely at the bot's data until it comes time to resolve combat, then I think you're getting a closer experience to when you're playing against a human, if that's what you're after. I do think there's value in playing it that way, but it's actually totally fine to play it the complete opposite way as well. So the opposite way would be that you do scrutinize exactly what the bot can do at any moment. You factor in what its chances are of blocking this way or that way, and how much damage it could possibly do to you with its most damaging combo, and do you want to mitigate that, and so on. The bots have several advantages and gimmicks overall, so even if you're doing all this, it's not like a guaranteed win or anything. I think you're going to still find it pretty challenging. And if you do choose to play it this way, you're just honing a different kind of skill. When you choose to ignore the specifics of the bot's data until it comes time to resolve a move, what you're doing is learning to play under uncertainty. You're learning to play under the fog of war, which is kind of how competitive games feel. And when you play it the other way, you're learning how to optimize the best punishes, how to best take advantage of tendencies that you pick up on. And that is also a very important thing to do, even in a 1 versus 1 game against a human. So it's not really clear which way to play is better. That's why I leave it up to you. If you're using this mode as training to play against human opponents, you could still be trying to focus on playing under uncertainty better or on optimizing punishes better. So I could see you doing either way. And if you don't care at all about the 1v1 competitive mode and you only want to play the solo or co-op mode just for the fun of it, then again, you could go either way there too. I'm curious what you prefer, so let me know in the comments if you think you'd prefer to play this mode where you scrutinize every little thing the bot can do, or if you try to feign ignorance and you think that would be more fun. At the time of this video, Yomi 2 is crowdfunding on GameFound, so please go to GameFound's site if you'd like to support the project and bring it to life. And if the crowdfunding went well and you're watching this video later, then go to serlingames.com and look for Yomi 2.